I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of expense, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort to be here in person. And you may end up watching the inauguration on a screen if you. And obviously, things are changing pretty quickly. So the inauguration has moved indoors. Only a couple hundred people will be able to be there.
Keir Starmer's political strategy has backfired spectacularly. His attempts to distance himself from Donald Trump have resulted in a humiliating exclusion from one of the most significant political events of the year. But the real story here isn't just about a missed party invitation. It's about the potential collapse of UK-US relations and the domino effect it could have on Britain's global influence. Stay tuned as we break down the far-reaching consequences of Starmer's diplomatic blunder. Keir Starmer's diplomatic misstep with Donald Trump has left many questioning his judgment and leadership abilities. The Labour leader's previous criticisms of the former US president seemed principled at the time, but have they now come back to haunt him? Starmer's vocal opposition to Trump's policies and rhetoric may have scored him points with his base.
I'm just here in DC ahead of the inauguration of Donald J. Trump, 47th President of the United States of America. All of the things that I have borne witness to, that I've been part of over the last 8 years. In some ways, the inauguration not being an outdoor event has been the very least of those things.
But it appears to have cost him a seat at the table, literally. Trump's decision to exclude Starmer from the guest list for his upcoming inauguration has sent shockwaves through British political circles. It's a snub that speaks volumes about the fragility of international relations and the potential consequences of taking a hard line against controversial figures. The immediate fallout has been swift and brutal, with political commentators and the public alike dissecting Starmer's every move. One can't help but wonder if Starmer's team seriously misjudged the situation. Did they genuinely believe that their principled stance would have no repercussions, or were they simply naive?
Freedom to the pursuit of happiness matters more than anything else. To everybody who's been crucified along the way and stayed true to what they believed in.
About the realities of global diplomacy, the art of maintaining diplomatic ties, even with those we disagree with, is a delicate dance that Starmer seems to have stumbled through with all the grace of a bull in a china shop. The public reaction has been mixed, to say the least. Some applaud Starmer for sticking to his guns, seeing his exclusion as a badge of honor. Others, however, are less impressed. They see a leader who has potentially damaged UK-US relations at a time when strong alliances are more crucial than ever. The question on everyone's lips is, can Starmer recover from this diplomatic blunder, or has he irreparably harmed his credibility on the international stage? Katie Hopkins, never one to mince words, has been quick to capitalize on Starmer's misfortune. She argues that this snub is just the latest in a series of missteps that prove Starmer is out of his depth. How can we trust him to lead our country, Hopkins asks, when he can't even maintain a basic level of diplomatic courtesy with our closest ally? It's a damning indictment, and one that's gaining traction among Starmer's critics. But is Hopkins right? Is Starmer's leadership really on shaky ground, or is this just a temporary setback? The coming weeks will be crucial as we watch how Starmer navigates this diplomatic minefield. Will he double down on his criticism of Trump, further alienating a potential future US president? Or will he attempt to mend fences, risking accusations of flip-flopping from his supporters? As the dust settles on Starmer's diplomatic blunder, a more ominous question looms over the UK's political landscape. Could his exclusion from Trump's inner circle be the first domino to fall in a series of events that erode Britain's global influence? The stakes are higher than just one politician's reputation. We're talking about the future of the UK on the world stage. The dynamics of global politics are shifting beneath our feet, and Starmer seems to be struggling to keep his balance. While populist leaders like Trump are gaining traction with their brash, unapologetic approach, Starmer appears stuck in the mud of outdated political strategies. It's like he's brought a butter knife to a gunfight, and the consequences could be dire for Britain's international standing. Let's face it, the UK's global influence has long been bolstered by its special relationship with the United States. But with Starmer's principled stance against Trump, he might be soaring off the very branch the UK is sitting on. Sure, taking the moral high ground might win him some brownie points at home, but in the cutthroat arena of global politics, principles can come at a steep price. While Starmer's team scrambles to contain the damage, savvy world leaders are already jockeying for position in Trump's good graces. It's like a game of musical chairs, and Starmer might find himself without a seat when the music stops. The question is, can the UK afford to be left behind? Hopkins, in her typically blunt fashion, doesn't pull any punches when it comes to Starmer's approach. She argues that leaders who aren't afraid to ruffle a few feathers like Trump are becoming increasingly influential. Meanwhile, Starmer's cautious-by-the-book approach might as well be a relic from a bygone era. It's not just about missing out on a fancy dinner invitation, it's about potentially losing out on crucial alliances that could shape the future of British foreign policy. But here's where it gets really interesting. Public opinion is a fickle beast, and Starmer's failure to secure a relationship with Trump could be the crack in his armor that his opponents have been waiting for. Critics are already sharpening their knives, arguing that this diplomatic fumble undermines his effectiveness as a leader. After all, if he can't handle Trump, how can he be trusted to navigate the complex web of international relations? The ripple effects of this snub could be far-reaching. It's not just about one missed photo op or a bruised ego. It's about Starmer's credibility on the global stage. In a world where perception often trumps reality, can Starmer afford to be seen as a leader who can't play ball with the big boys? Starmer's principled stand against Trump might cost him more than just a missed inauguration. It's a gamble that could shape his political future. History shows us that effective leaders like Churchill and Roosevelt managed to balance principles with pragmatism, even in tumultuous times. Starmer's challenge now is to find a way to engage with Trump while still upholding his values. A delicate dance, indeed. In the cutthroat world of international relations, can Starmer's idealism coexist with effective leadership? Or will his moral high ground leave Britain isolated on the global stage? The coming months will be crucial. Will Starmer recover from this diplomatic stumble, or is this the beginning of his political downfall? One thing's for certain, in the game of real politics, principles alone won't keep you at the top. Starmer needs to prove he can play the long game, or risk becoming a footnote in British political history.